Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's recording now.
Okie doke, right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's really exciting that you're all able to be here today. I'm Lucy. I'm really looking forward to getting to speak to you all. And we're all here for iRise's International's One World Period event in celebration for Menstrual Health Day, which is really exciting. We've got a really fantastic panel of menstrual health advocates from across the UK and East Africa, which is great. And we're going to discuss our experiences of menstrual health advocacy within the fight to end period poverty and how advocates are creating change in East Africa and the UK. So we'll also be discussing around how young people are creating social change at grassroots level, both in East Africa and the UK, as well as how we can engage more young people to do the same also. So I thought it would be nice to firstly begin by introducing ourselves. So who we are, who your organisation is, and a little bit of information around how your organisation is addressing menstrual health and how you're doing this. So a little bit about me, first of all. So my background is in feminist and female empowerment research, specifically in Uganda. I became interested in menstrual health advocacy when I started a voluntary role consulting for a refugee menstrual health research project. And we co-produced the research with a refugee community, integrating them with the research process so that we're able to collaboratively understand the challenges facing women around menstrual health rights within challenging circumstances. So I ended up basing my master's thesis on this experience and has since become an advocate for women's menstrual health rights, as I've recognised the stigma and taboo associated with menstruation and how this is negatively impacting women's empowerment as a result. So yeah, to kick off, we'll begin by starting the discussion of how did we all end up here. So one by one, if we want to go through and introduce ourselves. So Sophie, would you like to begin?
Yeah. Can I just check first, can Lucinda hear? Because she's put on the chat
yes.
that you can't hear what's happening.
Okay, we'll sort that first.
Yeah. Lucinda, can you give us a wave if you can hear us? She looks like she's perhaps frozen.
Yeah. Just give me one moment. Lucinda, are you able to hear us now at all? I don't think so.
I can just give Callum a call and see if he's got any idea of how to.
Yeah.
Hello, hi. So we've started the call, but Lucinda can't hear us, although she's just putting in earphones, so it's possibly about to work. Hi, Lucinda, can you hear us now?
Sorry about this, everyone. Just give us a couple of minutes to sort this.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I think everyone else can hear. Okay. Okay, I'll try advising that. Thanks, Callum. No, that's okay. Yeah, okay, thanks. Cheers. So Callum suggested Lucinda could, well, I'll type a message to her. So I'm not sure Lucinda's seeing my messages. She hasn't replied. It says Lucinda's connected to audio. Lucinda, are you able to hear us now? I think you haven't got your microphone turned on. You need to click the little microphone button in the corner, bottom left corner. You can hear us now, is that good?
Yeah, super.
Okay, great, cool. So I'm Sophie Rosen, so I'm the advocacy trustee with iRise International. And as an organisation, we work across the UK and East Africa. And particularly in East Africa, we work in Uganda, where we have a team based, and our primary focus is on menstrual education, both in schools and at the community level. And we emphasise particularly tackling menstrual stigma, which we believe to be at the root cause of many of the menstruation-related challenges that young people face. And we're also a research and evidence-driven organisation, so we work closely with academics and other organisations to kind of lead the research and evidence base behind our work, and we also work with governments in the UK and East Africa to ensure that that our work feeds directly into policy change.
Cool. That's really exciting. Thank you for sharing that. Deborah, would you like to introduce yourselves and your organisation?
Oh, yes. So my name is Deborah. I'm working as a program manager at TAI Tanzania, a youth-led organization that believes education is a powerful tool in helping young people reach their full potential. And we are currently implementing HMHM project that aims to ensure young girls have self-awareness on HMHM knowledge, attitude, practices that would influence their accessibility to education. And in doing so, well, we produce 3D animation video whereby we analyze different topics relating to HMHM, addressing the challenges that young girls are facing. With that awareness, knowledge can be transferred from one person to another, and also being able to tackle different challenges that young girls and women are facing as far as MHM is concerned.
It's really interesting and really exciting to hear also. Alfred, would you like to go next to introduce yourself and your organisation?
Sure. My name is Alfred Muli. I'm the Regional Program Manager for East Africa at RubyCap. RubyCap is a social business with teams distributed in Nairobi, Barcelona, and London in the UK. So we actually a menstrual cup company that has an inbuilt buy one, give one donation program. So ideally for every cup you buy, we donate another one to someone without access to safe menstrual materials. So we currently implementing projects in 12 countries across 3 continents. Thanks.
That's really fantastic. Molly, would you like to go next?
Hi everyone, so my name is Molly Fenton and I'm a school pupil in the UK, and I'm the founder of the Love Your Period campaign, which is a completely student-run campaign, no adults involved, and it's a campaign against period stigma, poverty and plastic. The work involves mainly stopping the stigma, because we feel exactly the same as what Sophie said, that this stigma, we believe, is the root cause of all the other issues and obstacles that are unnecessary surrounding living and menstruating. So we also, as well as doing that, we hand out period products to school pupils. We were involved in campaigning for the Period Dignity Scheme, which the Welsh Government now provide free products to school pupils. And then on the plastic side, we are trying to get them to use more sustainable options, such as reusable products, as well as plastic-free single-use products. Specifically for menstrual health, I run social media pages aimed to young people to give a lot of education around menstruation that we do not get in the curriculum here because we are not taught about it. So I use those pages as an educational platform. You know, things like what is normal, or when to be concerned, or what different things mean, or little things like how to use a tampon, things that we don't get taught, but we really need to know. But of course, the campaign always changes and adapts depending on what the school pupils around us need.
It's really fantastic to hear. I think our discussion around young people, which we'll be discussing later on, is really great. So it's really great to have you here to represent the young people voice. And Lucinda, would you like to introduce yourself and your organisation?
Hello everyone, I'm Lucinda Mary Atieno. I am the founder of EcoPads Uganda Limited. So we make reusable sanitary products to help the girls stay in school. And besides that, we do a lot of menstrual hygiene management education. Target mainly, I believe, when the girls are in primary, they have less information. The curriculum here focuses a lot more academic. So menstruation is not priority. So we start a lot of menstrual hygiene education for the girls from primary 3, and usually they're about 10 to 12 years there. So we, give a lot of information on menstrual hygiene management education, and then we also train the teachers, both the female and the male teachers, on menstrual hygiene management, because 70% of the time our children spend in school, and when the teachers don't have information to give the girls, then they are left, to wonder and then just get information from peers. So we focus on equipping the teachers, both the male and the female teachers, with information on menstrual hygiene so that they're able to speak to their learners about this. And these include the male teachers and the boys as well. And then we also do a lot of community education on making reusable sanitary products, so the girls can make them at home. If they can't, afford to buy, they can make something they can use at home. And then we have what we call My Sister Project. So the boys are literally supposed to look out for their sisters. If, for example, she's in class and her dress is stained, you shouldn't make fun of her and tease her. You should be able to support her, speak to a friend, to speak to her about her dress, so that they're able to help each other. And then, so we believe this will help a lot to get information down there to the boys, especially, who we really focus very hard on. And then we tackle issues around stigma, involving the young people, involving the teachers, and then the parents, who are the biggest stakeholders in this. We also do a lot of the community education to ensure the parents embrace menstruation as priority, because most times it's looked at as a non-issue. They will tell you, we don't have food, so we can't talk about menstruation. So we try and engage the parents so that they're able to look at menstruation as priority for the girls as well, and these include the male parents as well.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think that's a really interesting point to make around kind of the influence of family as well. So to get started with our discussion, I would like to start by talking around tackling period poverty, and first of all around products and provisions. So we'll start a discussion around how important do you think that providing products and provisions is within the fight to end period poverty? Sophie, would you like to begin?
Yeah, sure. So I think obviously it's incredibly important that people, when they're on their periods, have whatever products, provisions, materials that they need to manage their periods in whatever way they want to. So I think choice is a really important element of products, and I think that's an element that often gets missed when we just talk about, just having products. And obviously no one should be in a position where money presents a barrier to them accessing products. And so I think the kind of initiatives that Molly was talking about of products being provided in schools, I think those kind of things are really important. But at iRise, we kind of also place a lot of emphasis on stigma, which I know we're going to talk more about later, because we think that kind of just providing products on their own, that isn't enough to address all of the challenges that we see young people facing.
Yes, I completely agree. I think it's really interesting to talk about kind of accessibility and the independence of choices around menstrual products, because it is such a personal thing. Yeah, I completely agree. Alfred, would you like to contribute at all?
Yeah, sure. I totally agree that products alone don't solve the problem. It's very important that this is paired with some form of reproductive health education. And when it comes to the products also have to be safe in such a way that they won't leak. It won't have any negative impact on the body. But also more importantly, very important is also the fact that the product has to be comfortable, and in that way it will breed confidence, so that you're able to go on with whatever activities you are doing, whether it's you are working or you are in school. It's very important to be sure that the product you have is safe and comfortable enough to not interfere with that. I think the education component is very important in especially tackling the myths and the taboos that sometimes can also be a barrier when it comes to the menstrual product. For instance, with menstrual cups, without the education component, then one might not use because probably they've heard that it breaks virginity, or other myths that it will disappear up there, or that it's a contraception. So I think it's very important that the education covers obviously the broad aspect around reproductive health education, puberty, but also how to use the different products. I think, as Molly said earlier, she trains them even how to use a tampon. Sometimes we might take it for granted, but not everyone knows how to use all these types of menstrual products, or they could be knowing but not how to manage them. For instance, if it's a cloth pad, you've got to dry on the sun and not under the bed, which is quite a common practice. So yeah, I think the education component is very important on not just how to use the product, but also the broader aspect around tackling the different taboos that would lead to shame, but also improper use and storage of some of these materials.
Yes, I completely agree. I think it's really interesting hearing about the importance of education and access to products themselves. So in regards to providing products and providing access, I think it would be really interesting to hear from Molly around perhaps around the experiences that you've experienced around this, if you would like to add some more to that at all.
Yes, so of course, every day, especially in this pandemic at the moment, we find lots of people in period poverty. And the first thing I want to pick up on that is that 2 years ago, before this campaign was a thing, I'd never heard of period poverty, and I never thought of it. And then when I heard about it and when I learned about it, I was like, this is such an obvious thing that I should have known about, but we don't. And the mindset I have behind that and the work that I do is that so many people are in period poverty and they don't even know it themselves because they don't know what it is, which ties into this education, and this stigma. It's so much. I'm in the Welsh Government Period Roundtable. So we meet with our assembly members every few months and we give feedback. And I'm the young person there representing. And I say to them, look, you can give out these products as much as you want, but if there's no education around them, or there's still going to be this stigma, one, people aren't going to access them, and two, you're not going to get the feedback that you need. You can't just give, right, there's one type of tampon, one type of pad, because it doesn't work for everyone. There are so many different barriers. Now, I'm allergic to plastic products, and for years and years I was trying different medications and things to stop these awful, what was an allergic reaction, and I didn't know. And now that I've changed stuff around and used different alternatives, I don't get as ill as I was before. So that education is not there, and of course that stigma there, which is kind of worsening period poverty in a way. I think it's an avoidable issue. It's something that, of course, it's not something that we're going to be able to get rid of in the short term, but there are so many different things that could be done that can really make the issue a lot smaller and something that is a lot more manageable across the planet.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point around how it's such an independent and personal issue that affects those who menstruate so differently and independently. So I think it's really important around the role of community in creating real change. And I'm really excited that this is a real topic that we're talking about today. Deborah, I'd really like to ask you around why you think it's so important for people who have periods to have access to period products, and how do you and your organisation help people to gain access to these products?
Yes, so I think I'll concur with the previous speakers that it is very important for young adolescents, girls, to have access to these menstrual products, because you can find majority of young girls cannot even afford buying these products. And given the fact that they can't afford buying this product, they opt to use other means when they're having the periods. For instance, using clothes, because you find majority of them come in poverty families that they can't afford this. So having access to products is very important, because it will assure them of self-confidence. But not only that, but be able for them to be able to access education, like attending schools. Because one of the research we did and in our organization found out is that majority of girls skip classes just every month when they are menstruating. It's because first and foremost they don't have sanitary pads, and also apart from that, they face issues like pain during period, and that's why they tend the other option round, they opt to just stay at home. And as an organization, I can remember in the previous years, what we used to do is to go to the schools and provide education to the young girls in issue of menstrual health management. Apart from that, we use also to distribute sanitary pads. And normally we used to go to get this pad through fundraising campaign. But over the years, it came to our knowledge that the demand keep on increasing as years go. And actually, even though we distribute pads to these students, they still want the pads every month. And as an organization, it was not easy for us to ensure like every month we provide products to the students. So we came and sit back and plan and discuss like what is the better way to ensure that we raise awareness on the challenges these girls are facing, so that together we can reach to organization which can bring up their resources and ensuring not only these young girls have the product, but also they can access them in monthly basis. So I think that's why we came with the 3D animation video. And I can remember the first episode which we produced actually reflected a young girl who was unable to go to the school simply because she didn't have the product. And she was living with her father, and the mother was not there, so she couldn't. There was no what can I say? Due to the stigma, you can't speak directly to your father that, Dad, I need this product. So what we are trying to show there to the community is like these things happen to young girls every day, and there is a need as a community to step in and try to help the young girls to ensure that they have access to the products. And one of the most of the positive reaction we got from the community is that majority of men didn't know that many girls face this kind of difficulties in the monthly basis as far as access to product is concerned, and this helps to step in accessing product.
Yeah, I completely agree with you around the role of stigma and taboos and the myths around periods. But before we begin talking about that difficult topic, I'd really like to just very quickly discuss the role of sustainability, which is a trending issue, particularly for young people today. It's a great concern globally around the role of environmental impact. And it's very much so with the movement of Greta Thunberg and the likes of that we have to put sustainability within our practices at the forefront of what we do. And menstrual health must adapt to meet these changing demands in future years to come. So I'd like to invite any of you who would like to contribute around how can we address concerns around sustainability within menstrual health management, particularly, do you think? Lucinda, would you like to begin with this?
Oh yeah, thank you. Sustainability is a very, very crucial issue in menstrual hygiene management, considering the fact that many of the girls or women who are not able to access sanitary pads are from poor communities. If you look at the urban centers, the girls are able to buy the sanitary pads, you know, but if you look at the girls from the communities, the women in the communities, in the rural communities who are not able to afford the sanitary pads is where my focus is. That if we're able to have, for example, if governments focus on removing taxes, for example, on sanitary products generally, no tax at all, then we will enable the girl in the grassroots be able to afford the sanitary pad. It could be as less as as less as 1,000 Ugandan shillings, which is I don't know how much in dollars. Very, very little as that, because currently the pads are about $1, the disposable pads, which is still very expensive for the girl who needs the product. And even us who make the reusable sanitary pads, our pads are about $2 for a girl to afford that, it's still very expensive. So if we focus on reducing on the prices of these products, then we will enable the girls access this product, and then we'll ensure sustainability for that matter. But we'll also need to have governments on board so that they're able to either subsidize or reduce and remove taxes completely. I mean, in Uganda, for example, we don't pay 18%, which is a VAT tax, but there's some other taxes that we pay. So if that is completely removed, then we're going to see that the prices of the products will go down, and the girl who needs it, the girl who's using a rag, the one who's getting a sponge by the roadside to use, is able to afford the product, And then that said, if we're able to have these products available in private spaces where the girls can access them, why do we have condoms when you go to public, toilets? For example, if you go here to a club, you'll find condoms in the bathroom. So why don't you have the sanitary pads there for the women and girls as well? So if we're able to have some of these things embraced and looked at as priority, then we're able to tackle the issue of sustainability and ensuring the products are available. But that said, we still need to empower the women and girls economically. They need to be empowered to be able to afford. Even when the prices are reduced, we still need to tackle the poverty bit, say for the period poverty, but then there's the poverty, which is also really biting the community. So if these women are empowered economically, then they're able to support their daughters, they're able to support their children, to access the sanitary pad or the products they need during their menstrual cycle as such. But also the partners or stakeholders, I mean, different people are doing different things. If we're able to have a lot more, I don't know whether it's donations or charity directed to just providing the sanitary pads. Like my boy said, they're distributing sanitary pads, but it was not sustainable because I'm sure the financials are not there to buy the pads. So if we can have more, philanthropies or more donations coming in to support, menstrual health. Just like, for example, HIV has had a lot of donations, in a number of years. So if you can have something like that for, menstruation, for period poverty, we're going to just focus on ensuring the girls have the products. For those who can use reusables, you use. For those who can do the moon caps, do. For those who can do disposables, because different people react differently to this product. So I think also donations and support to just tackling the period poverty would also help with sustainability as such. But above all, we need to have the parents on board. If we have the parents of these children on board, and if they look at menstruation as a priority and not a by the way, then we will have them include it in their budgeting. With the little money that they have, they'll include and know that my daughter is going to go to school in the next term. I should provide sanitary pads for her. I should provide a product that she's going to use during her menstrual cycle for her. And that should be looked at as priority. So we need to have the parents on board very, very much to embrace this so that we're able to sustain.
Thank you for that. That's a very important aspect around the inclusion of parents within provisioning for menstrual health. I completely agree with you there, and I think the period stigma and the taboos around menstruation are so significant in limiting how much change that we're able to make in the current status until we change what the culture of menstruation is. So to build on that, I would like to start the discussion around period stigma. I'd like for each of us to quickly go through and say, does addressing stigma play a big part within your organisation's work? How important is it to address stigma? And in what ways do people that you work with experience menstrual stigma, taboos and myths? I think it's really important, especially as iRise is starting to branch the gap between East Africa and the UK, and we begin to grow a community together. I think it's really important to share both the differences in experiences between the UK and East Africa, but also seeing these similarities, which are very much so overlapping despite the geographical distance between our areas of the world. So Sophie, would you like to begin?
Yeah, sure. So stigma is, as I've kind of already said, very much at the heart of what iRise do. And part of where that focus came from was from a really important piece of work that was done by one of our members of our advocacy committee, who did a piece of work for her master's dissertation, which was, so she interviewed people in the UK and in Uganda and kind of compared their experiences of taboos and stigma, and found that there was actually a lot more similarity than we realised before in the experiences that people were having. And so from that, we kind of realised that stigma was this kind of overarching issue that is both problematic in the sense that it affects people all over the world, but also can be something that's a catalyst to bring people together if we work to change it. And so kind of some of the ways that we see stigma affecting people is that we think that kind of menstruation is like a really critical point in the development of young people. But if that experience is full of kind of stigma and feelings of embarrassment and shame, that's going to have huge knock-on implications for other aspects of young people's lives. So whether that might be kind of being prohibited from accessing products, being kind of overwhelmed by feelings of embarrassment at school, so they're not participating properly in school, not participating in socializing with their friends, and not feeling confident in their bodies, and that can have a big impact on the growth of confidence in young people. And that's something that we see in kind of all the contexts that we work across. And one of the main ways that we're addressing it is through education, as I've already mentioned. But we're also starting to look more at kind of creative interventions to addressing it. So we did a pilot project recently in London that was working with a theatre organisation, and it was basically working with young people and getting them to use theatre as a way of developing alternative narratives about menstruation and about their bodies that are kind of a lot more positive than the stigmatised narratives that we often see. And we found that to be really successful as well.
It's really interesting. It's a really alternative method, I guess, but I guess it's a way to start the conversation and remove the awkwardness, I guess, of talking Absolutely. About periods. Alfred, I'd really like to ask about your experiences, especially because with Ruby Cup being such an international organisation, I think it'd be really interesting to hear about like the differences and the broadness of what Ruby Cup is trying to achieve.
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we have an inbuilt buy one, give one promise on every cup we sell. So what this ideally means is that for every cup we sell, we donate another one to someone without access. We are very good learners. We, learn this from the very beginning that, the products alone don't work. That has to, to be paired with reproductive health education. So our program has an already existing sustainability pathway, and we look at ways of sustained support to the new users. We do respect the context. So for that reason, we don't implement any projects directly. We only work through partners. So these partners understand the context in the regions they work in. It's these partners that will be involved in the very initial stages of not just the implementation, but also the program design. And we're also very flexible in adjusting the program design. We have 3 levels of follow-up. We do follow-ups after 6 weeks, after 6 months, and after 1 year. Even at 6 weeks and we realize something is not working, we are able to adjust at that moment. I mean, other aspects around sustainability that need to be in place is that the trainer has to be from that community so that the new users can have what we call sustained support. In case they have any questions, they have someone they can talk to. And the partners have to provide resources in terms of the trainers, but also if it's in a school setting, the school has to provide hot water for sterilizing the cups. So the partners have to make sure that they've already thought about sustainability even before they can implement a project already. Then around other issues around sustainability that really matter to us is that you have to treat our customers right. So whether it's the quality product or whether it's the money back guarantee, if it doesn't work for you, you've got to treat the customers right for sustainability to work. In like the really broader aspects, we work with governments in all the areas we operate in. For instance, here in Kenya, we've supported the Ministry of Health in developing the menstrual health policy that will be launched on May 28th. So obviously what we've learned from Kenya and even beyond, then we channel that to policy and advocacy work to inform policies and make sure that we have change at the system level. There's a lot of the things we do, we cannot sustain alone. It has to be done by the government. Issues around standards, that's something that the government has to do. And so we really engage the government around that, involving government and other stakeholders around prioritizing menstrual health and hygiene, whether it's through investments, but also just creating awareness, because that's the very first step to actually disband or tackle all the silence and the shame that is usually associated with menstruation.
Thank you for that. I think that's really important to build on, is building a conversation. And I feel like that begins to link into the next section, which I'd like to begin, which is talking about sharing knowledge. I want to address the broadness of our panel and the fact that we're able to draw from experiences from not only Tanzania and Kenya and Uganda, but also the UK and Wales, and the international aspects of this call is really exciting because we have such a breadth of knowledge across the menstrual health community on a global scale. So I'd like to ask Deborah, actually, how can we encourage the formation and working of a global menstrual health community? So do you think that there is a value in sharing menstrual health learning from on a global scale? And how do we think that we can help to build each other on our local communities by engaging with each other?
Yes, so I think it's very important to share issues related to menstrual health management in a global level, because you can find in the local level is where you get the real issue that's happening, in depending to each continent what's happening to them regarding to menstrual health management and regarding to the stigma and taboos that facing in the particular country. So with the basis of understanding the stigma and the challenges that young girls are facing in different continent or in different local community level, and it is a very good opportunity to share such knowledge or experience in a global level, so that we can see how we can both help each other at the end of the day to attain the same goal, and that is helping young girls in tackling MHM in challenges that are facing in day-to-day life. So I can give a good example for instance, what we are doing as in the local level. So as I said previously, we use the 3D animation. And our mainly focus is putting girls at the center of attention. So what we do is we collect the stories from the students themselves regarding to the challenges and that they're facing in the day-to-day life as far as menstrual health is concerned. So when we gather the stories, we go back and produce and develop a script, and then we produce the production of animation, the 3D animation. So and this is a series of episodes. It's a series of episodes. So you can find the first episode reflect to male involvement on MHM issues. The other episode involved to the access of sanitary pads in the schools. So these kind of animations, we use them in our media channels, not only through our media channels, we create awareness in the community level as far as Tanzania, our country is concerned. But also through this content, we are able to form different coalition with organizations which are outside our atmosphere, like to say, okay, this is what is happening in our side. So how can we work together, like form army, to ensure that we address the challenges which majority of young girls are facing in the day-to-day life. So I believe that it is very important to exchange the experience and the struggle that different organizations or different communities are tackling in addressing MHM information, so that together as one we can come with good suggestion or good ideas, a good way forward. What can we do to ensure that we undertake this stigma and so that the girls can have a better life and a better menstrual health management?
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think being able to work on a local level and fundamentally interact with individuals at the smaller local scale, and then being able to learn from those experiences and expand it beyond nationally, but also internationally as well. It's such a fantastic opportunity to network and grow our community and share knowledge from one another so that we can continue to tackle this as a global issue together. So that's fantastic. I'd like to actually ask Molly around the involvement of young people within this issue. Why do you think it's so important to engage young people specifically within period equality advocacy? And how do you think that young people can really make a difference in advocating and leading social change around menstrual health?
Thank you. Of course, Love Your Period, like I said, is completely student run. So all of us are children and we're all doing it for children. Now, I know period poverty is an issue that we can find at any age in life, but I feel that there is a focus from everyone for younger people, because in a way there's less that those people can do about it. And of course, period poverty is never anyone's fault. It's, you know, it's not something that anyone's chosen to go through, and no one chooses to have a period. It's the way it is. It's not a luxury. It's, you know, you need the products and you need what you can to survive whilst you're on your period. I think I'm really privileged to be in the position that I am campaigning, in that I spend every day around the young people and I access the schemes that are there for the pupils. I'm in a low-income family, and that's not something that, you know, I'm embarrassed about, because my parents work really hard, but I have accessed the dignity scheme and I have, you know, experience, and then I'm able to use that experience, and of course my friends around me and the people around me that are more likely to tell me something over a teacher or an adult. I do find that a lot of people have found, you know, I go to a certain place at Broken Lunch and I say, look, if you need me, I'm there. And I have people from all ages, some I've never met before, come to me to talk to me or give in suggestions, or they can email or message the social media pages, because of course young people's social media is quite a big thing in the UK, that, you know, everyone does everything on it. So I think campaigning as someone who is part of it, if that makes sense. So because I've accessed these schemes and because I know what it's like to be a pupil, having to go through school, or I know what it's like not to have accessed that education. I started my periods at a very young age and I was terrified and I didn't want to tell anyone, because I thought, you know, something was really wrong when I'd started my period. And, you know, you don't just go to your teacher and say something like that. That's not, it's just that stigma. That's what it is. So yeah, I think it is really, really important to have young people's voices coming up, because at the end of the day, these schemes are being directed at them. A lot of the schemes are. And I found that I don't think Love Your Period would have gotten as far as it did today if it literally weren't for the ages that we are, because I started it when I was 16. You know, it was brushed off a lot. It was, oh no, we're going to leave this one. It took me a few months to really build it up, because people do think we don't know what we're on about. But yeah, people have seen, and you know, today we advise like the amazing work everyone else has been doing. We have parents ask us, we give out leaflets to parents to help them. We advise the Welsh Government, you know, what we think from the Dignity scheme, and we kind of show the people around us that are our age that it's okay. And my head teachers always said in my school, and loads of the pupils, because we do surveys and things to get back, my school seemed to be almost, you know, it's almost like, of course it's not stigma free, but loads and loads has changed. Like nothing's vandalized. The products aren't vandalized anymore, whereas they were, because people understand, or you don't get that name calling and bullying from what you usually find is the boys tormenting the girls as they came out of the bathroom. You don't find that. So I do think, of course, I don't have experience working with adults as such, because I do this and take the consequences on my own, but I feel that we are in a privileged position to be around the young people, and we can say, look, yeah, join us, because everyone that's on my team has been in the school and saw me stood up in the assembly hall or something and has said, can I join you on this? So it's almost like everyone's coming together, no matter who they are, for the people that are just like them. And I think that is why we've managed to get so far. And it's why I always say, look, if you've got something you're passionate about, just go for it. It doesn't matter your age, because sometimes you find that being younger means that you can make a big difference, and bigger than it were if you waited another 4 years and gone, oh, okay, I'm going to start it now, because people will realize, no matter how much they put you down in the beginning, that you are right. And if you keep going, they'll take you seriously. And it's crazy to see how much of a difference we've made, you know, just from sitting at home and putting things on social media, or getting those donations in, or going to a talk and making myself look like a bit of an idiot, or standing up in front of my school going, periods, see, it's just a word, and, you know, getting tampons out and teaching about menstrual cups and all these amazing things, because you find that over time you can break that stigma. And it's not an easy thing to break, but I don't think it's, once you put your mind to it and you find the right way around it, it's not a difficult obstacle. There are too many other obstacles in the way. As you know, there's always this circle, everything's connected. And I think we've got a general consensus between us all that this stigma, and because of that lack of education and everything, is one of the main causes of all these unnecessary obstacles. So I'm all for getting young people involved. And, you know, when I'm asked on things like this and stuff a few months ago, or 2 years ago when this first came out, that never would have happened, because I wasn't taken seriously. But you do find that eventually people do start taking it seriously, and it's worth it. So listen to the young people, because as everyone said, they're the ones who are firsthand experiencing everything. You know, parents and teachers are great and we need their perspective, but they need the support to help the young people. So the young person is that key center. So I think, yeah, definitely get them involved and definitely listen to what they have to say, because that is how we can tackle these issues more efficiently.
It's really fantastic, the way that you've gone about setting up Love Your Period, and the success that you've had with it is really, really inspiring, really. Even as a young person, the amount that you're able to have achieved in such a short amount of time, and the impact that you've had, kind of shows the influence of young people in really creating change. And I think that's just such a fantastic example. And yeah, it's just so great to hear. I'd really like to build, I'd like to ask Lucinda actually to build on this point and to ask, how can we encourage more young people to become agents of change within their own communities? I know that your work with EcoPads has enabled you to interact more with families around the sister project that you shared earlier. And so I'd love to ask how EcoPads and how you think that community action by getting young people involved can really start to change the stigma around menstrual health.
Oh, thank you. So working with young people in menstruation is very, very interesting. And because it's young people who are most affected by the period poverty, we need to have them at the forefront, in discussing issues around menstruation. So like I said, with our My Sister project in schools, and like I said, we do this work in the primary schools because we believe that the girls don't have information there. Both the girls and boys don't have information in the primary schools because focus is more of academic and passing exams. When they go to secondary, they are a bit exposed and have more information. So focus on the girls from the primary schools, from primary 3 there. That's where we start giving them information on menstrual hygiene management. And in the schools that we work in, we train like peers. So the training is 18 days, the peer training, where we equip these peers with information so that when we're not there, they're able to reach out to their peers. And then their teachers are also trained on with the same information, basic menstrual hygiene management information that they need. And for the young people, we leave them with a booklet that is Break the Silence of Menstruation in Schools. So this is our guide that when you go to the school, this is what we use to train the young people on the menstrual hygiene management, so that they're able to reach out to their peers using the information in this booklet to guide them and things like that. And that said, in the community where these students come from, they also go back and speak to their peers in the villages. Not all the children go to school. Some of them just stay in the villages. So the girls and the boys who are trained also go out and reach out to the others in their communities. We had a project with Save the Children where we're training teachers, and the teachers were supposed to go and train the pupils, and the pupils were in turn supposed to train 5 persons each. The boys trained 5 more boys, and the girls trained 5 more girls. And we discovered it was creating a lot of impact in the community, and there's a lot of excitement when we're going for monitoring. The children are interacting with, they're very excited about the number of boys they had trained, if they are boys, and they were doing that. They would reach out to their boys either when they're playing football in their villages, or when the girls are playing, there are those local games in the villages. That's when they get their peers who don't go to school, and they're also teaching them this information. And we saw it was very exciting for them and very interesting. And we reached over 500, boys and girls with this project. And for us, we saw, it creating impact in the community a lot. And then we saw some of the parents of these children, coming to the schools where the students go to ask what they are trained the children. All the children sounded very excited. And during the parents teachers meetings, which happen at the end of every term, we have the children display, what they trained on. Either they had made the sanitary pads themselves, or they're going to perform a skit about what they had learned about menstruation. And then we're having, for example, the boys are coming to demonstrate how the pads are used, how it's put on the kneecap, how they support their sisters. And for us, that was really something that was very interesting and exciting. But that said, the issue of privacy in schools is still a very big challenge. I forgot to mention it. Some of the schools share toilets, pit latrines, for that matter. The boys and the girls share pit latrines. So imagine the stigma this girl will have if they're sharing a pit latrine with the boys. The boys are going to make fun of her. In fact, in some schools, they share, the teachers, the boys and the girls all share one pit latrine. and we're seeing that as a very big challenge. So what do the girls do? They will stay home. They'll be like, no, I am happy at home. Or actually, sadly, some of the girls get money from the border. We have border people who ride motorbicycles from the villages. Now those always have some loose change. So when they see a girl, they're really predators. They pray. They see this one looks desperate. I can give her 3,000 shillings, and then I'm going to tell her to come to my house later on in the evening. And we're seeing the girls in early pregnancies are going up. We're seeing many of them dropping out of school. So these facilities also in school really affect the girls, going to school. And this is really related to the period poverty. If there are no wash facilities, if there's no water, there are no pit latrines, there's no place where I feel comfortable to go and change my sanitary towel, then I won't go to school. I'll stay home. If the teachers are making fun of me, if I am in class, one interesting scenario, let me share. When we're training the teachers in one of the districts, the challenge, one teacher mentioned the challenge and said, when the girls want to go and use the washroom, one girl will ask permission and they go. Usually they give one at a time. So they give the next one when the other one comes back. So when this girl has gone, the second one also puts up her hand and said, teacher, please, may I go out? Then the teachers usually resist to give permission to that girl. And then when we discuss with the girls, when the teachers discussed the girl, they discovered actually the first girl went because she was in her period and she didn't have a bag to carry her sanitary pack. The second one had a bag and she was asking permission to take the product for the first one who went out. And the teachers did not realize this until they interacted with the girls after the training. They discovered, oh, so the girls would go two outside, so one is going to help the other one. And then another scenario the teachers were very excited about, when they ask a girl a question in class, usually if they're in that period, they will just sit. They won't stand up. They'll answer the question when they're seated. So the teachers would harass the girls, why aren't you standing up to answer the questions? And the girls would not say anything. Only to discover later on that many of the girls do not feel confident enough to stand up during their periods because they're afraid their dress could have been stained and the boys are going to laugh at them. And so teasing out these issues with the teachers was very exciting. And then them going back to their schools and, sharing with the other teachers, and also putting this as priority, that don't force a girl to stand up in class, for example, to answer a question. Let her answer the question when she's comfortably seated, So, and those still go back to stigma. The stigma issues, but involving the young people, like I said, that is what we do as EcoPads. But also when we finish training in one district, when we're doing the monitoring, we get young people from the other district to come and share things with the other children from another district. So there's a kind of sharing of learning from the different districts, because some of them come from different tribes. So they come and share and see what is working in your school and what is not working in our school, and then they improve on that.
That's really interesting to hear about kind of the school experience and the challenges of trying to include teachers within the process of changing the ideas around menstruation and the importance of understanding the challenges for girls and being responsive to that. So that's really insightful. I'm very aware of the time, and I know that I'm sure you're all very busy, so I'd just like to end with just a couple of questions. Firstly to Sophie, because of your involvement with iRise, I'm really interested to know, what are you most excited about regarding the growing collaborations between the UK and East African communities in tackling menstrual health?
So I think obviously, because iRise is in the position of working across both contexts, and I think although the organisation has been working in both contexts for a long time, the kind of wider communities that support the organisation, I think, have historically been more separate. And so one thing that we're looking at right now is building a lot more relationships across the contexts. And so we were meant to have this year, but it's going to be pushed back because of coronavirus, but we were meant to be having a conference in Uganda, which was meant to bring together activists and advocates from East Africa and the UK together to share learning. And I think kind of sharing learning as a two-way thing is just really important. And I think there's probably going to be a lot to learn from each side. I think kind of particularly given there's kind of a very problematic history in development of like having this assumption that you know, it's for like organizations in the West to give their learning to Africa, for example, and obviously that's completely problematic. And we here have a lot to learn from the African context. And I think in many ways the East African government have been working on things to do with menstrual health a long time before the UK government has picked this up. So I think, yeah, we definitely have a lot to learn, and it's very exciting to kind of think where that can go.
Yes, I completely agree with you there. I think we definitely have a lot to learn from the whole global community, and particularly in East Africa, with all the progress that's been made. Just to conclude, I'd like to invite each of you in turn to finally say around how people can get involved with your organisations, perhaps young people in particular, after our discussions, and how they can get involved with your organisation's work and get more involved within the menstrual hygiene and health community. So Alfred, I'd like to start with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are so many ways we can engage. One, at this particular period, we have a campaign going on where we're donating free Ruby cups to healthcare workers in Europe and in Kenya. So for you guys in the UK, if you have any contacts in your nearest health facility and you have a nurse or a doctor or any other healthcare worker who can be a contact, would be happy to donate that. Again, this month for the menstrual health month, for every cup one buys, we're donating 2 and not 1. The young people can also be affiliates. So we have an affiliate program, and we'll be happy to have more young people joining in. And obviously for the social impact work, yes, we'd want to expand our programming in the UK and more partners in other regions. So please feel free to get in touch, and we'll find the best way to work with you, or really find the synergies within our work.
That's really fantastic to hear. Deborah, would you like to go next? Deborah, I think you're on mute, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So as I said initially, as Tanzania is a youth-led organization, we believe in the power of working together. And over the years, we've been working with local and international volunteers who come. We work together to make changes as far as menstrual health management is concerned. So as TAI, for young people, we normally welcome volunteerism, and we normally advertise through our website, where young people can join with TAI Tanzania to make changes to many young girls in the society. But not only that, as we believe in the power of storytelling, through our blog, young people can share their stories, on which we can also use them in content creation of our animation. Not only that, on media channels, we also engage with men, which young people can share their information and they can share their advice as far as menstrual health management is concerned. Not only that, as we are producing 3D animation, a digital organization, so we also welcome many young people who have skills in maybe issues of photography, in production, so that they can have the opportunity also to work with us in creating the content that we create in bringing changes to the community. So I think that is how we engage with many young people.
That's fantastic. Molly, would you like to go next?
So we encourage anyone and everyone who wants to get involved to do so. Most of our work at the moment, because of course we can't actively be out there giving products, I used to do like people in the community would donate lots of products, or like our local Rotary club which is an international organisation, would donate a sum of money to get products. So we can't really do that at the moment. So our homeless scheme's been put on hold, and donated to Bloody Good Period, who work with refugees in getting products to them, and really the vulnerable people that need them most. So everything at the moment is currently online. We just did an NHS worker collection as well. So we managed to donate over 200 packs of single-use products to our local NHS. So that's to our health board. So yeah, we've got a Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok page, all under Love Your Period. And anyone that wants to get involved, it doesn't matter your age, it can be a young person, can be an adult. We have people that just make content for social media, because we try to make it quite light-hearted as well, to try and get rid of that stigma. We have people that we do a Zoom meeting every week, and loads of people join, and they can be part and bring in their ideas for the campaign. So really there's no, just contact us, and you will get through, usually to me, to get involved in any way you can. We can use people's strengths in every way, because there is no right way to go about ending all these obstacles around menstruation. We've just got to keep, it's a bit like trial and error, unfortunately, but we've just all got to come together. So anyone that wants to be involved, please contact us via social media, because we need you and we want you to be involved.
Fantastic, thank you. And finally, Lucinda.
Thank you. So how young people can be involved? They can come and do internships. Some young people come and do internship when they finish their course at either vocational training centers. They come and do internship with us. We also welcome mentors, young mentors, young people who are able to go and speak to the other young people in schools, to kind of mentor them, encourage them, speak to that girl who's about to drop out of school, and just encourage her to be in school. And then also encourage young people to come so they can do sales. We have opportunities for sales, so young people can make some little money, because we're a business. They can make some little pocket money when they're doing sales in the community. But we also welcome a lot of charity, for example. So we're able to distribute these pads to the girls, in the communities that need it very much.
Fantastic. And Sophie, would you like to introduce to our audience how people can get involved with iRise as well?
Yeah, of course. So I very much echo Molly in saying that at iRise we believe that anybody who kind of cares about these issues has something to offer, and our emphasis is on kind of encouraging people to, if you've got an idea or you care about the issue, come and tell us, and we'll help you figure out how to go about doing something with that. We have volunteer opportunities in kind of loads and loads of different areas of the organisation. So we have, most of our events are volunteer led. We have opportunities for young people to be volunteering in schools, because we believe that peer-to-peer education is really important. We have opportunities for people to do research placements with us, and we're also really invested in young leadership. And so we have an advocacy committee, which is made up of young people who are kind of particularly interested in leading change. And so some of those people sit on the government's period poverty task force as representative of iRise, and I'm on the board of trustees. So we believe in people kind of being involved at whatever level they want to be involved, and offering people a journey through the organisation. And all of any opportunities will be advertised on our website, or on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can email us as well. Just get in touch. We're very happy to hear from you.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's the end of our chat today, but I wanted to thank everybody for taking part in the discussion in celebration for iRise's One World Period Menstrual Health Day. We've had some really insightful contributions around how menstrual health and period poverty is being tackled across the UK and East Africa. And it's been really, really exciting to learn more about how this is being achieved within your organisations and how crucial the role of young people is in creating social change. And I really hope that discussions like these continue to grow further as menstrual health communities continue to strengthen across our global networks, and we continue this collaborative action to address menstrual health inequalities. So thank you again to all the panel members for taking your time out your day to take part in this event. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and a happy Menstrual Health Day. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely rest of your day. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.